Alright. So, basically, what my job is here to do as the second affirmative is to summarize everything that's gone on here so that you guys can basically remember all our points. Now, first of all, I'd just like to say some of our points, the affirmative side's points, that were not addressed by the negative side. I guess we can assume that we are going to save a ton of money, as Alexis stated, because we've had, 50 different conventions in the last 100 years. And quite frankly, that's a lot of money that goes into these conventions. First of all, at least 6 people run for president every single time it comes around, and each one of them just pumps money and money into these campaigns. And campaigns, quite frankly, if you don't become president, they don't. Where's that money going? It's all just wasted, essentially. Now, second of all, I'd like to go into some of the claims that they made in the refutation. First of all, Justin decided to use Shaq as a negative, and I'd like to refute this point because Shaq actually supports the idea of a 6-year presidency. So to use someone like that and to use something that's completely off base and just kind of like, oh, here's a snippet where he's trying to outline something that the negative would say, where in fact the next line over would probably be something that he would be refuting because Shaq is actually very pro 6-year presidency. Then we got this whole lame duck argument that keeps being brought up. And quite frankly, and let me just say that it's absurd to think that the presidency the president would just become a lame duck right away if they get into office. First of all, it's impossible, because the definition of a lame duck, as on Answers.com, is an elected official or group continuing in office during the period between failure to win an election and the inauguration of a successor. If you think about it, that makes sense, because in order to be a lame duck, you have to have someone who's going to come in and take you over, and you lost to them, so clearly you have less public interest, and that's very apparent to people. And then since a president cannot become a lame duck, they will not face the second term blues, which I already stated before. But basically, towards the end of the first term, if they failed to become presidency, they would become president. They would become a lame duck. Likewise, the last 2 years of their second presidency, if you're one of the 15 presidents, you would be facing another lame duck period because someone else has already become president, and you're not going to become president anymore. That isn't quite on the radar for the first 4 years. So yeah, we're saying, okay, probably the last 2 years they might become a lame duck, because probably the last 2 years of any presidency they probably might become a lame duck just because of the thoughts of another president coming in. That's just normal politics, and that's going to be there no matter what we do. Now, the main thing I want to point out, though, is that we've had 5.9 average years of presidency in the last 100 years. Basically, we've almost had 6-year presidential terms. The only reason we don't have exactly 6, and this has actually been calculated, is that Kennedy was assassinated and FDR got like 20 terms. He actually got 4, but exaggeration. Now, basically, I want to go into some more of their points. You can't, let's see, here we go. Okay, so Justin said that no bill has ever been proposed to Congress that has 6-year term. Now, let's just ignore the fact that he then went on to say that there have been 4 bills that have had the 6-year term presidency and repealing the Second Amendment. And I should just go straight to Andrew Jackson. And this is back when this idea was currently coming around. Jackson repeatedly appealed to Congress for this, and so did basically every single president from 1821 to 1901. And that includes Democrats as well as the Whigs, as Wilson, not Wilson, that's way off base. Anyways, the Whig Party supported it, the Democratic Party supported it, and so did the Republican Democrats. Now, let's see. We've got, now I'd like to defend my nuclear war analogy basically with this. In Japan, we bombed Japan from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The outcry in our country was outrageous. Can you imagine how the people in Japan might have felt about that? And if they were a nuclear-capable country at the time, how do you think they might have retaliated to such an attack? Now think about if we were Japan in this situation. We knew exactly who bombed New York. Well, I know I would be like, we need to bomb those people. But as an educated individual, to take a step back and take a deep breath, I'd be like, well, if we bomb them, they might try to bomb us again. And that's the kind of thinking that the president needs to be able to do without having millions of people at his doorstep saying, you're not going to get reelected by us, and you're going to be out of here in 4 years, and we're going to impeach you because you didn't bomb Iran after they bombed New York. That's the kind of things that we're talking about. And the reason I can talk about that is basically because the problems, the possibilities of cascade failure is so much more prevalent now than it was ever before. George Washington had an army of 718 individuals. We have massive powers now. We can't have the presidency being tied down by these tiny little political debates. And I'd just like to leave you guys with a little quote here, because I know I'm out of time. This is from the Connecticut Post. Somehow we've gotten the idea that the success or failure of the president is measured by his or her success in achieving re-election. Can this situation be remedied? Can this situation be remedied by simply changing the rules? Of course not. But there is one measure that might be taken that I strongly believe could go a long way to amend the Constitution to elect the president for a single 6-year term.